Hello, Internet! I'm Elliot the Purple Hair Doofus, and welcome back to The Gunslinger by Stephen King. Today we're covering the chapter Slow Mutants. The entire chapter, the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. I hope you've read it because I do not want to ruin anything for you. So we find that Roland has taken Jake with him in his pursuit of the Dark Man, who has gone off into a dark, dark world. Seriously, it's really dark. It's so dark that Jake and Roland can't really see where they're going. So they're walking around, more stumbling around and putting their hands on things and figuring out what they are more by touch than by sight. In order to calm Jake down, because he could tell that he's freaked out and scared by this, Roland decides to tell him about celebrations in his land. And it kind of reminds me of the show Into the Badlands, if you've seen that. It's kind of like this dystopian future where there are people with knives and ninjas and guns, and they have balls. Not those kind of balls. They have like dancing balls, dancing parties, like are mentioned in the book, with like huge chandeliers and big poofy dresses, and it's just very reminiscent of Into the Badlands. The two forge on and find a railroad car in the darkness. The thing is, as Stephen King says, they don't know how long they've been there because it's been so dark. Moments turn into hours, and hours turns into days, and days turns into weeks. So we have no idea how long they have been walking by the time they have gotten to the railroad car. Stephen King even times it out by walking periods. So like there'll be a section that'll be like 3 walking periods later because they don't know what a day is down there. Anyways, they find a handcar and they're using the handcar and they're progressing faster towards the Dark Man. But Stephen King still uses that phrase, walking period, even though they're not walking, which is strange to me. Jake asks Roland about becoming a man. We get taken back to Roland's childhood again. Only it's not really his childhood, it's more of his teenage years. He is man-shaped, but still hasn't become a man because he hasn't progressed to become the Gunslinger yet. He visits, I believe it's his grandmother. While he's talking to his grandmother, there's this large, imposing man standing behind her in a very threatening manner. And of course, he wants that to stop. So, in an almost anime-type fashion, he goes up to his teacher Court and he says, I'm going to be a gunslinger now and you're going to allow me to do that. And it's just hilarious because on the one hand you have Court in his almost anime-like manner.
Student, you are weak. You are nothing. I will destroy you. Ha 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 ha. You are nothing.
And then we have Roland on the other side saying,
I am the student and I will best you, teacher. I will become the teacher. Ha 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 ha.
It's kind of hilarious. In order for Roland to progress, he has to fight Court and take his stick from him, or take his weapon from him. And so they go into the battle area. Court has his stick, and Roland has his hawk, David. And he says, David, attack! And David just kind of clamors at Court's face, and he's like, ah! Roland walks up and takes the stick from Court and says, I am the gunslinger now. And Court says, okay, you're the gunslinger. And Roland asks for his guns, and Court says, I can't give them to you now. I'm too hurt. Ah! Roland just kind of walks away from that scene. The guys, his friends, are all looking at him like, wow, you really did that. He's like, yeah, I did. We come back to Jake and Roland in the dark world, and they come across some, I guess, bioluminescence on the rocks, and it's glowing and it's pretty, but the bioluminescence are actually lighting some strange creatures that are coming after them, known as the Slow Mutants. And these Slow Mutants are almost like a 1980s zombie. Green, decaying, just blah. The whole deal. The whole shebang. There's even a scene where they have to stop the handcar because the Slow Mutants were smart enough to put rocks on the trail. Jake has to get off and take the rocks off the rail, and he's very scared. Roland fends off the Slow Mutants, and Jake gets back on eventually, and they go off. And then they come to a resting point where we find that we are in a New York subway system in the far distant future, and there are people there that used to work there who are just decaying mummies of who they once were. So Jake and Roland continue to move forward, and they see a light in the distance, and they think that this must be daylight. And they start getting closer and closer, and Jake starts getting more and more afraid because he believes that Roland is going to give him up to the Dark Man so that he can have the Dark Man to get to the Dark Tower. They get really, really close to the end, and then there's this dip where Jake says, I don't want to use the hand truck anymore. Roland gets off the hand truck and looks down the dip and it says, okay, we'll walk the rest of the way, and the light's just getting brighter and brighter. And there are a couple moments where the tracks have fallen out from underneath them. Roland and Jake are right in the breach of daylight when the Dark Man appears. And he's like, ha 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 ha, thank you for coming. And it's Roland and the Dark Man, and Jake has fallen, and he's hanging by like one of the ties. And he's like, help me, help me. Roland is standing there. The Dark Man says, leave him, follow me. You can have me if you leave him. And so Roland actually chooses to go after the Dark Man, leaving Jake hanging from one of the railroad ties. And that's how the story ends. The question that I have for you today, since this chapter was all about running into the slow mutants, which is basically a cheesy ripoff of 1980 zombies, what's your favorite cheesy ripoff monster? The question that I had yesterday is, if you were left with choosing your companion/friend or going after revenge, which would you choose? And I'm pretty sure I've answered it on this channel before, but in case you're only watching this story right now, I would definitely choose friend and companion over revenge. Revenge can wait. Friendship and companionship is kind of important for me to keep that than to go after revenge. Do not forget that the next book that I will be reading is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Go out and grab it by any legal means necessary. Borrow it from a friend, borrow it from the library, buy it at a bookstore, buy it on a Kindle. I don't care what you do as long as it's legal and you read it before I ruin it for you. I've been Elliot the Purple Air Doofus reminding you to watch Super Jam Radius. And I will see you all in the last, final, complete section of The Gunslinger by Stephen King.